Welcome. Thank you for being here. So, the whole thematic in the next session is about data monetization. And you are, sort of from the buy side, you're the representative on the panel. And I wanted to start by, because a lot of sort of your colleagues sitting on the panel we're going to talk to soon are really in this world of creative optimization, right? And we're so myopically focused on technology and focused on data and ROI and all that stuff. And, coming from the buy side previously, we know that it's the age-old sort of hat is that if a campaign doesn't work, the creative guys point the finger at the media guys point the finger at the creative guys, right? So, I mean,
it's the creative guy's fault, right?
Always. Yeah.
Okay.
Even if they have
Just
a line.
So we're clear.
Even if there's a line on their desk, it's their fault, yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, have we gotten past that? Like, where are we?
No, we haven't gotten past that. No, everybody's still pointing at everybody else, and everybody's pointing at. Now we just have more people to point at, right? Because now we can point at it's the technology's fault, the targeting didn't work the way it was supposed to, or we were promised an audience that was actually ultimately smaller than what it was supposed to be. Things didn't serve as much as they were supposed to be. So there's just all sorts of new people to point fingers at. That's all.
So you're on your hat. Your title is digital.
Yes.
Right. And when it comes to, let's just talk about buying video, online video right now, and we'll sort of get into this larger world of TV and video coming together.
Sure.
I mean, what is the partnership like with your creative partners? I mean, are you guys are you sitting at the same table when you're planning out a campaign?
Yeah, I mean, the age-old answer to that is client by client, right? And in some cases, the clients are doing, I think, a great job of making sure that their agencies are walking in lockstep together, and we're brought in from the very beginning of the creative process, and we get to be there for the ideation because we're thinking about somebody has to distribute this, right? That's our job. Our job is to take it once it's formalized and put it out into the market. But if you don't understand where it's going to go in the market, you're probably not creating the right assets, or you're creating the assets in a vacuum. So when we can be there from the very beginning of the process, the quality of the product we get at the end of the day is tremendously, tremendously better. Still, there are other clients who they have their creative brief, they go through the entire process with the creative team. The creative team says, hey, by the way, here's all the different video assets we have for you. Congratulations, go find a place to run them. And now the total scope of what we could do with them is limited by the assets that we were given. And because creative is so expensive, and that's, I think, one of the biggest things that needs to change in this industry is the cost of actually getting content produced. Because creative is so expensive.
But are you on the agency side taking responsibility for some of that as agencies? I know you're on the media side, but just from
you want to speak on behalf of WPP for
no,
that?
just in general, like creative agencies are really expensive, right?
Creative agencies are really expensive. No, well, I think what it opens up, and it's to the challenge of creative agencies, it opens up opportunities for us to use the content partners that we're buying media from to produce the creative for us. It opens up the opportunity for us to say, well, you want to do this special campaign. By the way, we have this little sister agency that we work with. They're tiny. They have, but they can get something done really nimble and opportunistic and quickly and get it out the door, and it'll be, half the price of what you would pay your big creative agency, who is your creative AOR, to get it done. And I think these little guys are starting to eat at the big creative agencies.
And yet there's continued consolidation.
Yes.
So
it's fascinating.
Yes. Just human behavior itself.
Back to pointing in directions.
Okay, so let's talk about that, right? Because we know, again, another truth. A truth like, more targeted media performs better. Right. Another truth is that if you know who you're talking to by targeting media and you give them a different message that's more relevant, it will probably perform better too.
Yes, one would think.
But how does that translate for video? Because again, to your point, derivatives of a piece of, source creative is very expensive.
Yeah.
So do you look to technology solutions?
Sure.
What's that conversation like? Because I'm sure when you're sitting in a creative agency and you're saying, look, this is a data-driven buy. I've got incredible audience segments.
Right.
I want creative variance.
Yeah.
Here's somebody to do it. How's that go?
Right. I want to be able to give them option A or option B, or 5 different options or 10 different options based on the consumer that I'm talking to and what their behaviors were in the past and how it's going to, So the creative conversation ends up difficult, I think, because we end up in this conversation of we want all of these additional assets, and then the conversation ends up about cost, and we don't have the ability to do all the cost. The clients are getting frustrated with that too, right? Because they see the opportunity in all of the different creative executions that we can get done and all the different places we can target them and buy them. They want their media dollars to work better for them, right? It's clear that that should be the solution. The clients are getting frustrated that they can't get the volume that they want out of their creative agencies, and it's creating challenges in how they ultimately end up dealing with their budgets on an annual basis. They sit down, they start to divide up the budgets and figure out where they put their money. Well, maybe I need to put more money into creative this year because I want to get all of those assets. But if I take the money out of the media, then I'm not going to be able to get the targeting that I want to get because additional layers of targeting cost extra money.
Right.
So the math starts to become an issue for everyone.
So this lends itself to a really...
but that's where technology becomes the opportunity,
okay.
right? So if we can find a really great technology partner, and there are a few out there, right? If we can find some great technology partners who we can say, okay, if you just give me snippets of the ending, give me, ending A versus ending B versus ending C of that particular piece of creative, and we can find a technology partner who can weave it all together for us, then we should be able to create on-the-fly creative that solves for that problem.
Right. But so you sort of have broached a larger, the big gorilla in the room is it is not Google. That at the end of the day, if we talk about programmatic and being able to scale targeted media, right? Scaling creative as well, that's sort of the ever increasing conversation around, well, maybe programmatic really isn't driving that much efficiency. Because if you're paying a premium for data, even though you may be buying less in volume, theoretically that should net out to be a zero-sum decrease or increase in spend, right? But on the creative side, if in order to maximize the ROI on that media, you've got to invest more in creative. Like, I mean, how, and I guess...
Does the math work?
Does the math work? But also, are your creative guys ready for a brief that is decoupled by audience segments?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the subtlety between an 18 to 25-year-old versus a 26 to 34-year-old female, that is trying to get pregnant, like, is a 25-year-old, assistant creative director going to get that?
Right. It's a great question. I was on a panel a while ago where I was with a head of a company who was on the panel with me, a CMO, and he said he was frustrated with all of his agencies because they weren't bringing him anything new and exciting, whatever, and they weren't being the BS filter that he wanted them to be. And I said, you've got the wrong agencies, and he handed me his card on the stage. It was the best panel moment I had ever had in my life. And in that moment, I realized that is true of the creative agencies as well. He was talking about the media agencies, but it's true of the creative agencies as well. I think they need to shift how they work. And so the challenge becomes, do you have the right agency? Because if your agency isn't excited about getting those audience segments, about getting all of that information and using it to your benefit, I question whether the agency is there to really help drive your business or there to put awards on their walls.
Okay. So I guess, my final question is, do you see an eventuality where the creative agents, we've been talking about disintermediation sort of around it, not really at it, but we've gone around it, right? So like brands going direct, private exchanges, et cetera, in the programmatic side of it, the first conversations we had in the morning. But do you think that there's a chance with all these creative optimization technical solutions, some of which are in the room, that agencies would disintermediate on the creative side as well?
Maybe. Yeah, I think there's an opportunity for it.
Okay. Thanks, Shenan.
My pleasure. All right.